Hello everybody, welcome to my second video on Sacred, probably in the same day, because the update that I was talking about in my last video has actually released. So, firstly, let's take a quick look at the map. So I want to do a bit more in this video, simply because it is quite a big game, and now the update's out, so the character walks properly, it makes more sense. So, looking at Ankaria, it is relatively big. Now, consider this is a PlayStation 3 game, quite early on in the PlayStation 3 life cycle, if I remember correctly. The map is actually really big. It doesn't look it, but when you realise how long it takes to walk certain distances, you do realise that this is pretty huge in reality. Now, if we're going to deal with the update specifically, I don't know what else has changed, but as you can see, the character now does actually run, which is, let's face it, the whole reason the update was required, because that stuttering thing was just horrific. Now, one thing that I have noticed, which I can't remember whether it was the same on the original game on PS3, is you cannot look at your character while you equip items. What you can do is you can equip them and then quickly look at your character, but you can't do this both at the same time. So unlike Diablo or anything like that, it's not possible to very quickly see what your character looks like when you change items. It does have that paper doll physics system where whatever you equip does change your character's appearance, so it's one thing that I do like about ARPGs, and it's one reason certain games, in my opinion, aren't ARPGs, they're action games. So I look at Darksiders Genesis and Darksiders, the original, for that. Darksiders 2 did allow you to change the look of your character, and therefore it falls into the ARPG genre for me. Now that's just my personal preference and personal opinion, but it makes sense to me. How can you play the role of a character if you can't change the look of your character? I change my clothes, so my character should be able to as well. So, now one thing about Sacred that is similar to other games, but done differently, is you can level up your skills. Now, you can level up your skills through finding additional runes with that skill on, but you can also add extra traits to it, almost like Diablo 3's runes, or not the runes, but the actual modifications for each of the skills. On top of that, you can make combos in this game, and those combos are not just combat combos. They are, how should I say, they call them combat arts, but basically they're a combination of different abilities. So rather than just attacking with your light attack 3 times and it does an attack combo, this one you can connect 2, or I'm going to say 2 as it stands because I think that's the maximum. You can connect 2 abilities or combat arts into one button press. So currently, for example, I have Radiant Pillar, and I'm just swapping out Instill Belief, which is basically take over someone's mind, with, I can't even read that, my eyes have got a bit funny, but Flurry Strikes or something like that. So what you do is you drop a Radiant Pillar, and then you do one of your really powerful attacks. And it just means that you're able to quickly link your combat arts, which are your basically spells. I think that's the easiest way of talking about them. You can link your spells together and perform some pretty interesting combinations. Now, one thing about this, for a PS3 game, the lighting effects are amazing. You would almost believe it's ray traced, but let's face it, PS3 and PCs at the time could not do ray tracing, so I have no idea how they managed to get the shadows the way they did, because the shadows are absolutely amazing, and it was the same in the original game, by the way. This is not the fact they've added ray tracing to the game, because I can guarantee they haven't done that much work to this. They have probably increased definition, but that's probably about all. They've even said that everything else about the game is exactly the same. They've not modified anything from the original release. I would say, as I have said, it's basically a resolution increase, nothing more. Now that's fine. It is a slower paced game. You could see when I was doing my combat arts before, the character jumps into the air quite slowly. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, yes, this game is something that will take a long time. Do not expect to complete this campaign in 6 to 7 hours or anything like that. I can't even tell you how many hours I put into the original, but just walking places takes so long, and that sounds bad, but for some reason in this game it doesn't bother me. This is what I would imagine the isometric ARPG version of, and I'm going to cause one hell of a storm now, The Witcher 3. Now, it's buggy, don't get me wrong. It's not AAA by any stretch of the imagination, but I do find the characters are quite believable. They're quite lovable in some cases. There are some nefarious characters, and there's a lot of role-playing to be done. So,
Well done, player.
like I've said before, it's one of those situations where, in reality, the game itself is probably ahead of its time. It's got a lot of things that you now find in games such as Divinity Original Sin, you find in the new Baldur's Gate 3. This doesn't have the interaction with water and using electricity and stuff like that, but I'm just talking about the epic scale and the fact this is more of a combination between the action part but also just the normal roleplay part, so you do have to run between quests. Almost MMO style in some regards, but single player. You used to be able to play co-op. I don't know whether that is still a thing. I would imagine it possibly is. I don't know, but either way, it's just really good, and the graphical improvements, although on the surface they're not amazing, they still do make a difference. Now, as with most roleplay games, you do have attributes that you can upgrade. You do have these traits. Now, these are your passive skills, basically. Your passive skills just give you bonuses to different things. So, if you wear armor, for example, but you don't have armor lore, you will not get the full benefit, and it will basically increase the regeneration time for your combat arts. So it'll take you longer to be able to do your spells, in effect. Now, if you have armor lore, not only does it have less of an effect on your regeneration, it gives you higher defense levels, and when you get to level 75, it will give you even greater improvements. Now, level 75 seems ultra unachievable, but to be perfectly honest, it's still pretty achievable. So all of these things really do help to flesh out your character. Now, I used to do character builds, and stupidly enough, because I thought this game was pretty much dead, I don't have a PS3 anymore, there was no way of actually getting this game any longer, I did get rid of all of my builds about 6 months ago, for them to then release a remaster that I had no idea was coming, which I can't say I'm not really annoyed at that chance of fate, but what can I do about it? Just means I have to build some more builds. So please let me know down below if you're interested in me doing some build guides, because Seraphim and Temple Guardian were my two go-to characters, so I should be able to quite quickly come up with some new builds for it. They do, however, take quite a lot of time, so I will be doing Seraphim before I do Temple Guardian. I do have both characters, but I am focusing on Seraphim initially. So let's get back into what this game has, because I would imagine a number of you have never played it before. As you can see, there are some quite interesting physics going on. So unlike other games in this kind of era, In this one, you kill something, you can actually push it along the floor with your feet. You always could do that, even in the original. So, it is an interesting addition to a game of this type. As I've already mentioned, the shadows and the lighting effects are really good. The fact that you walk through grass and the grass actually moves out of the way in a game such as this at the time was unheard of. Even now, it's not 100% done in all games. I think Diablo 4 definitely does it, but yeah, there are a lot of others such as Wolcen and things like that, which I can't remember it ever moving the grass, for example. There are other things that are really useful. So, for example, you will find runes. Now, runes are items which allow you to learn your combat arts, your spells. You can do an exchange for them. Now, if you try and exchange one for one, so one of somebody else's into one of your characters, it will cost you a lot of gold. The more you put in, the cheaper it becomes. So it goes from 125,000 to 25,000 to 5,000 and then 500 gold to convert some runes into one that you can use. And you can select the class, you can select, well, your character type, you can select the magic group, and you can select the specific combat art as well. And once you've done that, you will end up with a rune that you can then learn. Now, as I mentioned before, you can level up your combat art itself, and then you can have some add-ons to it. So, for example, the more runes you learn for a specific combat art, you level it up. So, it's not a case of spending skill points, it's just a case of finding additional runes, or trading for them, as I've just done on screen. Once you've done that, and once you use the arts a specific number of times, you will get a bonus point in that category. Now those bonus points can be put against any of the arts within the category, and they will give certain special attributes to it. So for instance, Instill Belief, you can have it so that it will have a higher chance of charming 2 enemies at the same time, or that the radius will be increased, so it's just over a bigger area to encompass more enemies. Things like that are actually quite useful, and it does change the way your character build will work. Now, I don't want to carry this video on too long, but I do just want to point out that if you are, and I said this in my last video to be fair, if you are into an instant gratification, I am going to spend, I don't know, 5 hours playing and I want to do 90% of the content, and I want to have been fighting for 98% of that time, this is not the game for you, because there is a lot of running and inventory management and things like that. As I say, it's more of an RPG. It has action elements, but it is more of an RPG. I would say, for me, it's kind of the perfect blend between your CRPG and your ARPG. It's got the instant gratification combat without having turn-based or anything like that, but it also has we actually have to be a little more tactical, thoughtful, and it's not just about going and killing waves and hordes of enemies. If you like that type of thing, now I would say that this is probably the best example of it. Even now, it definitely beats Sacred 3 and Sacred Fortress, or whatever it was called. They did a side-scrolling version which was just absolutely horrendous, and then they did Sacred 3, which just didn't work at all. This is definitely the best in the series, and I really do hope it's a prelude to Sacred 4. But I'm going to leave this video there. Hopefully this has been a bit more in-depth after my last video. If you've enjoyed it, please make sure you click the like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I'm going to say it, I look forward to seeing you for my next video very soon. You all take care. Bye for now.